Weapons online.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another ISC Season 2 match. My name's Toaster, and I'm here casting tonight with my good friend.
Saruman of many colors, ladies and gentlemen, and we have a very, very interesting match tonight. Smoke Adders 373rd versus T28 Death from Above. Kind of a rematch back from Martial Olympiad's first inaugural season. Two very strong Div B teams who kind of had a bit of a slow start, but eventually climbed their way back up the ranks of Div B, slugging it out right now to cement their position within ISC's second inaugural season. Now, Tos, you want to go over the teams real quick? Get that started?
Yeah, so first, Team 1, you got Smoke Adders. They've been a pretty solid addition to the competitive scene for a long time now. Headed up by Madcat3050, I believe is his username. And Unfearing doing most of the drop calling, two pretty solid pilots. Of course, they've got McGraw, definitely someone to be wary of if you look at his stats and his KDR and all that win-loss stuff. But overall, just like a really solid team. So I don't remember what place did they get in Martial Olympiad last season? Do you know?
I think Martial Olympiad Smoke Adders were the top half of the thing. I think top half of their division. I want to say that they were that they finished either second or third. I can't exactly remember.
Yeah, it was such a
but
close
they definitely
division.
finished. Oh, yeah, pretty much. But let's see. Give me a quick second and we can find out. But one thing also to keep in mind is that while they have some pretty amazing pilots overall, like if you look talent-wise at Smoke Adder's roster, they aren't wanting for any sort of talent. Mad Cat 3050 ranked 67th overall on the leaderboards, and in Martial Olympiad Reborn, none of his mechs really had under 200 match score. He performed very well. Crimson Shadow, Captain Judas, they were they also performed very well. I think they were around 300 match score. Those guys were primarily the medium and heavy pilots. At the same time, you also had Good Try, who's kind of new to comp. Good Try was essentially one of the best performing light pilots in Martial Olympiad for Division B, and actually performed better than a good amount of Division A pilots. He was consistently a very strong performer and was probably a big reason as to Smoke Adder's success in Martial Olympiad 8v8s. He's definitely a pilot you want to watch. I think that we will see a lot of good things coming from him, especially if you look at his quick play stats. Now, obviously, quick play stats don't tell you the entire story, but even still, average 390 match score, and that's in lights. That's pretty impressive. But who do you like from T28 Death from Above, since they were the ones that almost walked away with the gold in Div B?
228 Death from Above. Let me scroll to my notes here. So Nuclear Weapon, obviously really solid pilot. You probably recognize him from Solo Q. Die and Rage Quit is his infamous tagline. Also Invictus, very good pilot. I don't. What did you tell me he was running earlier? Is he a light pilot or is he just hopping all around?
Invictus, and this is a very interesting thing. I hope CBIT doesn't get angry at us for mentioning this. Invictus actually, I believe, ran an Annihilator in the first round of ISC, courtesy of Cozen Indigo. Once again, just a quick shout out. I want to thank Cozen Indigo for the stat page. Him and his buddies are doing a lot of great work. But yeah, thanks to Cozen Indigo, we found out that T28 Death from Above likes to be top heavy. They like to bring annihilators. They like to bring some really heavy mechs. They like to mix it up with lights, and their light lance isn't necessarily too bad for that either. You know, they have Seabiscuit, who's also been pretty solid in lights. Backshots, also a pretty solid light pilot as well. So yeah, they've it's really interesting to see how they perform.
Yeah. They've got both teams. I would say like just kind of solid all around teams. Maybe I say has a few kind of more standout pilots in the form of McGraw and Mad Cat Unfearing, but overall like pretty balanced teams, pretty solid, very experienced teams. Both of them coming off of a win last week in ISC. I believe. Let me look. I just had it up. I believe they were both 5-0 wins too. Yeah, SA 373rd beat the Black Aces, which Black Aces is a pretty low seeded team. And let's see who did 228 beat. Oh my gosh.
228 Death from Above was beating
Beat.
a lot of high profile people in Division B. 228 Death from Above, as I said, their start was pretty slow. They got trounced by Evil in round one. They, however, did beat 42, although in all honesty, everyone beat 42. They
Rip.
lost to Smoke Adders actually in the third round, but at the end of the season, they managed to beat Clan Crossfire. They beat MS Crab People at the time, was leading up for first place, and they beat the division leaders of Martial Olympiad Reborn's Division B, which is White Knight Legion. So obviously, this team is able to hit a lot heavier. They're able to punch above their weight, that's for sure. Smoke Adders, meanwhile, Smoke Adders took drops off White Knight Legion. Smoke Adders took drops off Potato Killers, which was essentially Evil's team. And of course, Smoke Adders also beat the Answer because, you know, everybody beat the Answer in that division. They were kind of the team that really, really struggled very early until really late. But yeah, both teams definitely were punching above their weight, and I believe that looking at the stat sheet that Smoke Adders didn't actually do too terrible against their Division A team. I don't remember exactly who they played, but I do remember that that team was that doing anything good against your Division A team is something to be admired. Yeah, looking at it, they were playing against Black Omen, and to be honest, Smoke Adders, they didn't win any drops, but they definitely took off a lot of mechs, so they were definitely throwing it down and showing a lot of promise, even against Division A teams.
Yeah, yeah. I think either team tonight could win. It's I think just going to be about a matter of who's going to be most consistent. Like you said, Div B last season was it was kind of like hit or miss for a lot of teams at the start, and as the season got going, they started showing up, maybe practicing a little better, kind of getting their groove on. So maybe now, like we didn't have much of a break between that season and now ISC, so rules are different, but hopefully they'll be able to carry this momentum into this league.
And this will kind of be the biggest deciding match for these two teams. This is going to be the match that kind of catapults one team into the higher division and sends another team back a little bit, because this is kind of one of those matches where the brackets finally even out and we're seeing two teams really play to their evenness, their strengths. Obviously looking at the stat sheets, you would say to yourself, wow, Smoke Adders really has the lead on this one, but stats don't tell everything. And, 228th, even though they lost to Smoke Adders in Martial Olympiad Reborn, they're very inventive and they're very clever and they have a lot of unity on that team. They definitely work together very well. Meanwhile, Smoke Adders kind of has a little bit of disunity. They've cycled through many leaders. Lukoy used to famously lead this group. Now it's Mad Cat 3050. In the past, it was other people. And sure, you have some people like McGraw who are kind of the constants of this team. McGraw's been with Smoke Adders since its inception way back in, I want to say 2013, 2014. There's a lot of talent that kind of circled through, whereas 228's been pretty consistent for the past year or two that they've been involved, ever since, and I don't mean to talk badly about RJ Base, God bless him, but ever since Seabiscuit kind of took the reins away from him, this team's been going places, and they've been going places quickly.
Yeah, 228 is kind of their collective hive mind, always pretty constant factor in most of these leagues. And you're right. USA has been kind of seen their fair share of pilots rotating in and out. I remember Wingbreaker, a pretty good friend. He doesn't play for them so much anymore. Chimera, actually, EMP player now, played for SA for I think a season or two before joining EMP. So they know how to grow talent, spot talent, and recruit it. Just maybe can't quite hang on to it like some other teams, but.
Can't hang on to it at all, sadly. Imagine Chimera on this team. That'd be pretty beastly, especially considering the fact that McGraw already pulls in some high damage numbers, Captain Judas as well. But now we are going to get this rolling. Interestingly enough, back shot for 228 is in, but good try for SA is out. That's going to be interesting since backshot, just like good try, is another pilot that's also a big up-and-comer. Both of these teams are employing some new talent that have definitely shown their stuff. Very late entries into MWO's comp scene, but man, they've been performing very well, both of them putting up some very high match scores in Martial Olympiad Reborn, and both of them also looking very impressive in the quick play standings.
Yep, but let's get in this match. So we didn't really mention this, but hopefully everyone knows by now it's 6v6, 3-cap conquest, and Yeah, only IS mechs for ISC. So,
And no heroes.
oh yeah, no,
9
no
heroes.
heroes, no
None.
heroes.
I'm not sure if Unfearing was trolling or not, but he was asking if he could bring his Llama Linche. That is a no-go, sir. Although why you'd want to bring that mech in the first place is beyond me. That mech is kind of trash. But let's get into this match. Unless, of course, they buffed it majorly. I don't think they
No,
have.
that mech is not good. I may or may not be considering selling mine, but someday, maybe someday it'll get uber quirks and be good. What do you see on these mechs?
What I see, interestingly enough, is Smoke Adders bringing a Warhammer 6R. This is Unfearing, 2 Gauss rifles, and an ERPPC, kind of a old school mech from an old school pilot, especially considering the fact that Unfearing was playing during the days of pop sniping victors. 3 UAC 2 Dragon 5N from Mige Proton Special. Very interesting pick. Assassin 23 is coming out from the Kevster. And yeah, it looks like that Smoke Adders are trying to get on the wall right now. McGraw 18 bringing an Enforcer packed to the brim with ER large lasers. And Captain Judas, Roughneck 2A, 3 Ultra AC5s. And now looking at the drop deck for 228th IBR, they're definitely going with a lot of consistency. Uzil 6Ps across the board. 6 medium pulse lasers from all of those Uzil mechs. Black Knight 7L from Giggity 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 Goo. Quagmire's favorite mech warrior pilot. 5 medium lasers, 2 large lasers, so a bit of laser vomit. So very interesting deck from 228th Death from Above. They are going out full brawl. They are staying with their mechs. And a very interesting thing about everybody having the same mech is that at times it can be a little bit difficult to focus because sometimes certain teams, especially on the lower divs, recognize mechs by chassis. So if there's only one chassis unit being used between the entire team, 1 or 2 chassis, it's like once the Black Knight goes down, they're all New Zeals. So hopefully Smoke Adders is on their game with target calling, but it looks like that they're not even going to try it. They're going to be sitting on the outside hoping to outcap 228th IBR. But what are you seeing, Toaster?
Yeah, it looks like 228 just kind of milling about kind of underneath. I believe SA kind of knows where they are. Invictus taking some big shots off of Unfearing, who's perched his Warhammer up here on the catwalk or spine, whatever you want to call it. But right now, 228 does have a 2-0 cap lead. SA hasn't even bothered to try and get a cap, but the Uzils are making their move.
Yep, right now the Uzil 6Ps was the 6 medium pulse lasers. They're currently trying to push out of their that northern end of Theta right now. I believe that's the Delta section. Could be wrong though. Would need to be fact checked on that. Hopefully you can do that for me, chat. Uzil 6Ps pushing out and they're pushing on top. I do not like Mige's position. He's very isolated and his team can't really offer him any cover right now. And the Uzils are finally taking advantage of it. Look at this push. Mige is down 84%, 80%. Look at the burst damage from these lasers and the Black Knight 7L all closing in on Mige right now. It's 62. 59, 53. The Uzil smell blood, and they got it. Mige is down. Excellent pick from 228th. Terrible positioning from Mige. And now, in an instant, blink of an eye, Smoke Adders is down a mech.
And 65 tons. That's a lot of DPS they just lost. Now they're pushing up top. Captain Judas looks like the main focus target.
Yep, and Captain Judas is starting to get jumped on by the Assassins now, 67%. However, he manages to rotate out. The rest of 228th, however, is going back into the fight. Captain Judas holding the line with his Roughneck 2A, while the Assassin 23 is kind of provide some covering fire, but Captain Judas is starting to take a lot of shots, and once again, he is alone on the HPG's top level. Meanwhile, we have some large lasers filtering in, Unfearing trying to drop that PPC Gauss front-loaded damage, but it looks like the fight started slowing down a little bit. Invictus is taking some huge shots that he really can't be affording to take, and he goes down. Great focus fire from Smoke Adders. That was all poke damage. Great coordination. The match is now even, but it looks like Captain Judas is getting jumped right now by Seabiscuit, but Seabiscuit is going way too ham. He's surrounded by 2-3 mechs, and he's at 41%. He's going to drop like a fly soon enough. Back shots down 48, 46%. Look at this range support all across the way from Smoke Adders. They are sniping these Uzils down as they try and get the mechs from 228th IBR down, and they're just not doing it because they're getting shot in the back, shot in the legs, picked off by an insane crossfire from Smoke Adders, and it looks like that this match is going to be cleaned up as Nuclear Weapons, the last Uzil standing.
Yeah, it looked pretty good for 228. They got that early pick on the Dragon, but just the crossfire between Unfearing doing so much work in that Warhammer, I think you probably got to give him MVP with how many shots he was laying down. Just like it was hard for 228. They didn't quite get on the SA guys quick enough and ice them fast enough. They let Unfearing do too much farming.
Yeah, and credits on Fearing. He was hitting almost every single shot he was making. That's what you get when you're part of the Pop Snipe era. As you said, I'm willing to bet that he'll probably have top damage this game. Also, credit to Kevster and Mad Cat. They were playing very cagey with the Assassins. They did not jump in. Can't say the same for the Uzils, though, from 228th, Death from Above. Seabiscuit and Draven Cult, Giggity, not Giggity Giggity Goo, and Invictus, they kind of got way too aggressive on that back end where all the Uzils are, and they kind of just got picked out. Seabiscuit charged a little bit forward. Invictus was a little bit behind on the push. Both of them were able to get focused and killed. Meanwhile, Backshot and Dravencult were trying to support Giggity Giggity Goo, and it was just not happening. At that time, 228 was just bleeding mechs, and it all started with Mage. That was an extremely unfortunate pick on the Dragon.
Yeah, yeah. And I will say a good job. You mentioned this, but a good job on the two assassins and even the roughneck Captain Judas for like playing where they could, most keep Unfearing like as their backup. Keep him where he can be constantly shooting, keep the fight in his kind of line of sight. It would have been really easy to kind of do what Seabiscuit did in his Zeal and just go a little bit too ham, go up top and get in those pillars brawling where Unfearing can't really help you. What do you see from the scoreboard?
What I see is Unfearing is far and away the MVP of this match. 450 match score, 755 damage. That is insane. Captain Judas, 355 in the Roughneck. The Assassin Hit Squad by Mad Cat and Kevster, 353, 219 respectively. 230 from McGall. Decent large laser game. He was doing a great job shooting backs and legs. And meanwhile, nobody on 228 really broke over 300 damage. Seabiscuit was close to 295, but didn't get it. Meanwhile, the other Uzils hovered between 185 and 250 damage. And interestingly enough, giggity giggity goo, it's just like didn't do that much damage either. And interesting, it was interesting how Smoke Adders recovered from the pick on Mage. I think 228 just smelled blood in the water too much after that pick. They saw that the advantage was too much in their favor, and they just got way too over aggressive. I think it might have been an overly psychological thing. They just saw that they had the advantage, and they just went way too aggressive, more than they should have. I think Nuclear Weapon was playing that drop a little bit better than they wanted to. But going to the match strat, Toaster, what do you want to tell us? What do you see?
I'm still confused by why Midge or Mige was where he was in that dragon. So, all right, he had come all the way over here to this side of Theta and on the wrong color again. Kind of parked like here. I think he was originally up top, but then dropped down, which it doesn't that doesn't seem like a very good place to ever stick a dragon. I feel like he just wanted to be where Unfearing was, like up on this catwalk, be able to use those sight lines, if they do come out right below you, you can kind of march forward and up and be using your arm to get some really nice angles because you don't have to deal with like side torso mounted weapons like even the Warhammer does. But instead, what happened was 228, they all kind of came out this side, wrapped around Delta 4. It seemed like they did it slow enough that Mine should have been able to get out of there, but for whatever reason he didn't, and he got picked like pretty much for free over there. He was basically all alone. Good, I guess somewhat good on SA for realizing he was a lost cause at that point and not overcommitting, because the rest of the SA mechs, they backed up to this side of Theta. Eventually they dropped down, which it hurt the Roughneck a little bit, but it did ensure that Unfearing and even McGraw, who was over here and his Enforcer, were basically always able to kind of keep line of sight on these mechs that were pushing into Echo 5, and they were basically just shooting them from either side. Seabiscuit kind of ran forward and turned around, gave his back to Unfearing. I'm not sure that was the best decision, but just kind of devolved into a brawl where the Uzils all got slaughtered into Echo 5 eventually.
Yes, and also going back to Theta, the biggest thing is that the Assassins were able to buy as much time as they could for the Roughneck over at this data point, as you mentioned. But not only that, they managed to pull back kind of more towards this area, Delta 4. You saw 228 kind of push into the firing line over here and get into basically the eyesights of McGraw. He was over in this area over here, poking from this angle.
On the wrong side.
Oh, what?
McGraw catwalk is here.
But there was a mech up here that was poking, no?
There was
Oh,
no, there's oh yeah, McGraw was over here. He was in F4.
oh, my bad. Sides are mixed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
And
the
this is
point
where the fight
remains was
was.
that this map, man. But anyway, going back to that, McGraw managed to make a play by just being on the catwalks around here, keeping the fight, and the assassins and the roughneck kind of dragged the fight into this boxed area, as you said. Meanwhile, on Fearing is where you marked over here in this area,
Yeah.
dropping
Oh
fire,
yeah,
and the
yeah.
Zeals never really got on him. They managed to just keep the. Basically, what happened was that the assassins and the roughneck kind of kept the fight in front over on this side rather than allow the other range mechs to be overtaken. It was a very smart play by players. They kind of helped filter the teams in and allowed them to get the win. And now we're moving on to drop 2. This time switching sides. 228 gets team 1. Meanwhile, Smoke Adders gets team 2's 1-zip convincing win from Smoke Adders. Very well played and executed.
Yep, yep. But now, 228's gonna change something up there out of Uziel's. Does seem like Warhammer more and more. Just the dual Gauss rifles for this tonnage, 325 tons among 6 players. That mech just seems really quite solid in this tournament.
Also, it's worth noting that Dual Gauss is very underrated against lighter mechs. Like the projectile speed on Dual Gauss allows it to where if you know how to aim on lighter mechs, it's probably one of the best light mech killers in the game since it's almost just point and click. It's not much lead off time. So it's actually a very good weapon for these tonnages, despite what people will tell you. The DPS isn't great, but the upfront damage is absolutely insane. And if you have some DPS mechs to cover it, like an Assassin or a Kentaro, more brawly mechs, then you're able to do a lot of damage. And it looks like that we are seeing the Annihilator that we hyped up a little bit earlier in this drop now. 228th IBR has 2 Annihilator 2As. Those are being piloted by the very pilot we were talking about in the beginning, Toaster and Victus. They are 4 LB10s. Giggity Giggity Goo seems to have sacrificed a couple of things to put some medium pulse lasers in his Annihilator. And meanwhile, the rest of 228 is running 4 Commando 1Ds. This is an extremely interesting drop deck. I cannot wait to see what 228 has in mind for this. Meanwhile, on the other side, Mad Cat 3050 is in the Flea. Looks like he might be getting early scouting info. Mige is in the Mauler MX90. Hopefully, he's able to be in the right spot this time. I'm confident he will. Captain Judas, Black Knight 7L. Once again, Laser Vomit. ER Mediums, 3 large. And McGraw and the Enforcer 4R with large lasers. Donnie Z. Fleet 20 as well. And on Fearing in the Grasshopper 5H, this one's decked out with a boatload of medium lasers with 2 heavy PPCs. This is a very interesting build. So these are 2 extremely interesting but very different drop decks. And what are you seeing on the action side?
So far, nothing. 228, they've just run all their commandos underneath grab data. The Annihilators are moving in. Not sure really what their plan is. This is going to be a hard fight to take just because, they kill those 2 mechs. You're down a 30-year tonnage. McGraw's already working on Giggity Giggity Goo from the wall with his larges, and he doesn't really have an answer to McGraw right now.
And it seems like no team really has an answer to McGraw. This wall strat is a very hard counter to the deck that 228's brought. It's kind of more of a brawly build. The Annihilators aren't going to get anything.
Yeah, but they're I don't know, it seems like maybe their idea is just push them underneath, try and get force SA into that close quarters fight where those commandos can really do work, and the LB10s will really shine with their high DPS. But it's SA is probably just going to go ahead and grab a 2-cap in response to this.
And on top of that, it looks like Mige is once again isolating himself on the outside. If he's not careful, those Commandos 1Ds are obviously going to jump him. He does have some range support, so it's not in as much danger as most people would think. But the Commando 1Ds are starting to run off. It looks like 228 is going to want to try and make this a 3-cap to try and get Smoke Adders down from the wall. But the way this crossfire is unfolding, it just looks like a mess. Right now, 228 is eating a lot of damage. Giggity Giggity Goo's already down 77%. That's not necessarily something you want in your Annihilator. The damage is spread, and that's good for him, which means if anything ever escalates to a brawl, he'll have a lot of armor to tank with. But even still, 77% damage is 77% damage no matter what way you slice it. Right now, it seems like Smoke Adders definitely has map control. We have McGraw and the Enforcer for all kind of scooting over to try and get some Overwatch on Kappa. Looks like Mige might be looking out on that doorway to try and get a look on the commandos that they pop out. But overall, even though 228 has the cap lead, there's not a lot of response they can do for Smoke Adder's setup other than cap,
Yeah,
which Smoke Adders can counter with fleas.
yeah, Smoke Adder's already sending their 2 fleas over to Epsy, so there's kind of just back in this 2v1 situation. McGraw looks like he's gonna move to where he has lines over Kappa, although he seems like he might know or might have some idea that these commandos are gonna come in through this middle gate, so he'll get some free damage here. These commandos can't trade with him up on the wall. They don't even nearly have the range. Nuclear weapon takes a pretty big hit. He doubles back while Seabiscuit keeps going, so now these 2 commandos are split, and they're gonna have to figure out something to do.
Thankfully, most of the damage from nuclear weapon is in his dead arm, I believe. It's smoking, and it's only at 89%, which leads me to believe that that's exactly what nuclear weapon would want shot. But even still, the commandos are just trying to find their way back to regroup with the team to try and get another cap. But the fleas are already on getting back cap duty. But the problem with Smoke Adders was, and this is the biggest weakness of their strategy, they really didn't go after a cap in the beginning of the game. So for all intents and purposes, 228 is dominating the cap game. They have the victory condition well under control. So they're annihilating. They're Commando 1Ds down low. They really don't need to push, but there's really no support coming to these commandos. They're just kind of running around the map topsy-turvy, trying to get whatever caps they can, and it's really to no avail as they're just getting chased like crazy. And Smoke Adder's strategy probably is do as much damage to these Commando 1Ds as you can, so that way the fleas can finish them off. And if it comes down to that, then 228's donezo.
Yeah, and SA is already flipping back both of the outside cap points, so fleas have moved on to Kappa. So now, like, SA is going to have map control and cap advantage, which is very bad for 228. You know, these commandos look like they're going back out around, probably going to Epsilon, but they've just been eating, you know, a little bit of chip damage here and there as they rotate around, and they're probably just going to continue to do that.
I mean, cue Benny Hill theme, man, for real. If only you had that prepared, that would be probably the most appropriate music for what's going on right now in this game. And it's basically something that I'm not liking from 228. I really like this deck on any map other than Outreach. It's a very interesting deck. If the LBXs weren't LBXs, perhaps maybe something a little different, maybe some more DACA in the way of AC2s, AC5s, then maybe something could be done. But the LBXs just cannot really do anything against range. And it looks like now that Captain Judas and Unfearing are preparing for the commandos to maybe come back. It looks like they're setting up all their range components. This is actually a very dangerous position, because if those Grasshoppers and the Black Knight get spotted, which it looks like they did, this is exactly what the Annihilators want.
Yeah, but at the same time, can those Annihilators push it? It looks like SA might just be trying to catch these commandos as they grab Epsy. Captain Judas is out there along with the 2 fleas, so it's a 3v1 fight, and these commandos have already taken quite a bit of damage.
Nuclear weapons getting poked down, 63%. Strikes are being dropped. Seabiscuit really didn't take a lot of damage. And right now the commandos look like they're trying to get out of dodge. If the Annihilators are going to push, now is the time, since the Grasshopper and the Black Knight are both away from the fight. Draven Cult Backshot leading the way. Look at this push. I really like what they're doing. They're sending the commandos out kind of like light cavalry at the beginning to screen the enemy team, to allow the Annihilators to get a clean lane to push out. Draven Dark Shadow, look at the dodge, man. Already looking like Neo out there with his Commando 1D, manages to evade a boatload of fire from Mige and Unfearing, and the Annihilators are on the push. I repeat, the Annihilators are on the push. The Commando 1Ds are starting to join back into the fight. Look at the way Backshot's weaving and bobbing. He's practically using Captain Judas as a shield in this light fight in order to protect his own mech, and Captain Judas' own Black Knight's a bit too tall to really get any solid shots on the Commando 1D at close range. We have the Annihilators start their push, but I do not like the way Giggity Goo is heading. You, sir, are not supposed to go shoot that Annihilator, since now you're exposing yourself to the Enforcer, which is on the top of the wall, which is exactly what they want. However, even still, this is a favorable battle, potentially, but maybe not, actually. Unfearing kills Giggity Do. Mige self-destructs, however, and right now it looks like that the fight's even, but even still, this fight between the Black Knights and the Fleas can really go either way. They need a bit more tonnage in this.
Yeah, this is just a really messy fight with these commandos. It looks like Captain Judas is going to go down, though. He's backed himself up into a corner, so he doesn't have to worry so much about the back shots, but I don't know, these commandos are just so tanky.
And it looks like that the tonnage response was answered, because they have all 4 of their commandos fighting this out now. Backshot finishes Captain Judas. Mad Cat and Donnie's Line Z are trying to pull out. But right now, the commandos managed to score 2 very solid kills. Mige and Captain Judas are both brought down. Mige brought down more from the withering fire from the Annihilators and pecking from the commandos on his way out. And it looks like that the mech advantage is going to 228. They also have a lot more lights, so the cap game is very much in their hands well. Great play by 228. 228th. Unfortunate maneuver by the forces of Smoke Adders. That Grasshopper and that Black Knight was not where they needed to be. And right now, Invictus is just hiding 58% in his Annihilator 2A. Strikes getting dropped. Donnie Line Z is trying to even the game up by killing this Annihilator. If they can do that, then perhaps they can get map control back in their favor. And fearing Grasshopper.
Yeah, Grasshopper is up top. He's taking some shots.
Grasshopper, he's trying to put down as much medium range fire as he can, making those heavy PPCs work. Nuclear weapon takes a big shot, down 29%. He's also legged in his mech. And meanwhile, Donnie Line Z are trying to help Unfearing. He's trying to get out of dodge as quickly as possible away from the withering swarm of commandos. And he manages to down Seabiscuit with a great Pop-Tart shot from his Grasshopper. Very well shot by Unfearing. He is on fire today. I'm surprised he did. Bullseye. 228 might even complain about some aimbot hacks from him. He is just shooting very well tonight. And right now, it looks like Backshot staying on Unfearing, trying to finish him off. Meanwhile, Donnie Line Z is trying to finish off Invictus. Backshot kills Unfearing, finally brings him down. Mad Cat and Donnie Line Z, however, got super beat up by that Annihilator. Invictus down 34%. Not a lot of weapons left. And right now, this game...
Mad Cat's got to be careful, too. He's 2v1 down here on Theta. The other... Flea Donnie Line Z isn't down here either, but I guess the commandos don't want to take this fight either. Draven's just hiding in the corner behind this pillar.
Well, they probably don't want to take the fight because Backshot's legs are screwed. One shot from either or can affect him, but look at that. Strays in, straights out. Backshot demonstrating some very high-level light play, manages to come out from a different angle to get the kill necessary to keep the game even for 228. Very, very good maneuver, and we see McGraw now coming down from the wall, doing something that we generally don't see him do that much. He's getting in the middle of this fight, putting down some serious medium and large laser fire on Invictus, and Invictus looks like he really can't do anything since he's shielding for his team. Yeah, he is stripped, I'm guessing. Yep, stripped. Unfortunate. But right now, McGraw is trying to work with the rest of his lights to finish off the Commando 1D. It's down to Backshot and Draven Cult. This match, for all intents and purposes, is a 2v3. Invictus could technically try and go for Kappa to make it a 3-cap, but he doesn't. But and actually, he probably should, because this map could very well go down to caps. 6:30 left. If...
Yeah, 228 probably needs to control all three for the rest of the match if they want to win.
But they can't. The flea is still up. Both fleas are still up, actually. So right now, things are just not looking good.
Just one flea remains. So one light on either side, along with the stick to Annihilator for 228. So Draven just needs to probably flip Kappa and decide what he wants to do from there. I'm not sure. Do you stay around, just try and hold Kappa for the rest of the timer?
You could, but that's still 100 seconds. That is a minute and 40 seconds that the other team has to kill you. And right now it looks like that's not happening anytime soon because McGraw is on the move and his mech is perfectly fresh. The 3-cap probably is hurting 228 more than anything because if they had a 5-cap, if they had the ability to get a 5-cap, that Annihilator probably could have done a little bit more work, but he doesn't. So right now they were in a very unfortunate position, and I think right now that this game might be decided already. Draven would have to loop around long and surrender the Kappa point over to Smoke Adders, which would give them more than enough time to set the cap advantage completely in their favor. And I don't think that Draven Cult really can afford to go another long distance to try and prolong the fight.
Yeah, and he's pretty beat up. He's at 68%, which in a commando isn't much health. McGraw's coming over at him right now. McGraw smells blood, so this could be the end of the match right here.
However, those laser burns are not making a lot of contact. Draven Cult with Backshot was doing an amazing job dodging fire, and fairness to him, both his legs are only orange. They aren't even really dark orange or red yet. There's still a little bit of armor in there. The Commando has a lot of armor quirks in it. It's a deceptively durable mech, and now we're starting to see Donnie Line Z kind of trace back, getting ready to intercept Draven Cult from where he thinks he's going to be, which is around this southern point here towards Theta, and it looks like that he might just be safeguarding the Theta point actually instead of moving out, which I thought was what he was intentionally going to do. And it looks like that the full caps are just dropping right now. That's what actually a pretty smart play on Smoke Adders for. If they can full cap it, then they might have enough time to respond to one cap or another.
Yeah, Draven, I don't know. I almost think he needs to go in there and just fight the flea and try and win that fight. Because if he kills the flea, then, theoretically he can outcap McGraw and that Enforcer as fresh as that Enforcer is. But we might have a confrontation here.
And right now, the
Just
light fight is underway, it looks like. Yeah,
oh,
there we
Donnyline gets
go.
legged.
Donnyline Z gets legged. That's very bad. Draven Colt drops a strike to find finish him. Donnyline Z is running into it. What a shot by Draven. And it was one thing that I wanted to mention right before the fight started. The Commando 1D is probably one of the best night fighters in the game, IS-wise. All those armors and SRMs can really make a difference. Well, probably not the best night fighter, but he's definitely a top-level night fighter
Scratched here on the point, though. He needs this to flip ASAP before McGraw has a chance to get there.
He was hoping that that strike would finish Donnyline Z, so that way Donnyline couldn't do exactly what he's doing now, which is intelligently poking Draven Colt to try and get the point from flipping. The point is flipped, but it looks like McGraw is on his way. However, Draven Colt is immediately saying, I'm going to kill you now. I have the point, but here comes McGraw with the support, and Draven Colt needs to now get out of here. Otherwise, McGraw is going to lay the smackdown on that commando. He's getting right into Donnyline Z, and he's strafes and gets out. Very smart decision by him.
Yeah. So now that Flea, all it can really do is, maybe alternate between Theta and Epsi. Well, it looks like, McGraw isn't even bothering to try and chase this commander. He's just going to go back, flip back the cap point, realizes that every second counts. But maybe you just send the Flea down there? It looks like Draven Colt might actually have this one. Oh my gosh, this is going to come down to the wire.
Actually, I would say...
no. There's or Smoke Adders have managed to basically catch up in points, so Draven Colt needs to get a 2 cap here, so he probably has to... I don't know, this is probably impossible. This is probably lost by now.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think Donnyline Z would have been better set up at Epsilon, since either way you slice it, this match is going to come down to Draven Colt walking away with the win, and Cap.
No, Draven Colt's walking away with the loss. T28's surpassed them just because they've held the cap advantage for so long with these 2 mechs. Draven Colt's been doing a great job, but he needs to hold. Now he probably has to hold a 3 cap if he wants to win, which he just doesn't have time to get.
Exactly. This match looks like it's going to go the way of Smoke Adders. Once again, a very well played match by those teams. Smoke Adders, once again, utilizing all the range they could to kind of set 228 off their game. And GG, close game indeed, Seabiscuit. GG, close game indeed. Smoke Adders walking away. They're definitely on their game right now. And looking at the damage, once again, Unfearing, MVP of this match, Grasshopper 5H, 547 damage, doing a lot of work with those heavy PPCs. That's a very surprising build. Would not think it was that good. On his heels is McGraw, almost 500 damage, 2 kills. However, the Fleas were doing work as well. Donnyline Z and Madcat 3050 both did almost 300 damage.
Yeah, just pretty balanced damage numbers. Invictus, I guess giggity goo, kind of the first one to get focused. He tanked it all, and then Victus, he was kind of stuck behind that pillar trying to hide himself from McGraw, just be able to shoot, Midge and the other heavy mechs on SA's side. He managed to do quite a bit of work in that LBX Annihilator, 788 damage, with only 6 mechs and 325 tons on the field. That's quite a bit.
And Backshot, once again, doing a lot of work in his Commando 1D. He was definitely the standout on this map. 3 kills, over 300 damage, and some of his kills were extremely impressive. Well-placed snapshots. Him and Draven Colt were dodging shots like crazy. Kudos to him. He is playing very well. And so kudos to Unfearing. He is hitting almost every single shot imaginable, like just on his A game, definitely setting the tone very well for Smoke Adders. McGraw playing very well. And yeah, this is just turning into a very good match so far. The decision is 2-zip, but my goodness, that second match was very close and could have gone either way.
Yep. But now we change maps. 2 maps on HPG. Now we're going back to Grim Plexus. So Grim Plexus, it's 3 cap strat, so it's all the edge points. So this might even go even more in favor of, how 228's been wanting to play it with these really kind of top-heavy decks with a bunch of lights kind of running around. Cue the Benny Hill again.
But the problem is that 228 hasn't been bringing the right loadouts with these mechs. The Annihilators having the LBXs, I feel, probably it hurt them a little bit because damage was spread and you don't really have a lot of focus. The LBXs at range. If they brought Daka instead, then it probably would have happened a little better for them. I'm guessing 228 was expecting Smoke Adders to brawl them, but Smoke Adders just did not oblige their request. They hit them with range from all different sides, and that's where the LBX really can't work their crit magic. Now, admittedly, they were doing a lot of damage because the LBX pellets were spread across mechs, especially the heavier mechs on Smoke Adders. And, well, you have those pellets fly somewhere. They're just going to be doing damage, period, end of story, no matter what way you look at it. But what do you see on the map, Stratoaster? What movements really stood out to you?
It was actually a really interesting match. So 228 pretty much immediately walked all their Annihilators into the basement. No real big surprise, especially if you're bringing LBX Annihilators. That's kind of where they want to be. If you can force the other team to brawl you down there, you probably just win. SA did their kind of usual, sent McGraw up on the walls, kind of spread their guys out up here, kind of all over the map. While 228 took a pretty early cap lead, they grabbed Theta, they grabbed Epsi immediately off the bat with all 4 of their commandos. And then eventually 228 sent their 2 lights around Kappa, and I kind of give them some crap for they took a lot of shots from McGraw, who was up in Echo 3 up high when they tried to come back around. Eventually they did get it together, and they just kind of wrapped all the way around the map. Now, what happened then is like the turning point of the match. SA, they tried to catch those lights out on Epsi, right? They sent their 2 fleas and a Black Knight, and they even moved the Grasshopper down into Delta 4. I imagine his original goal was to meet them up there. But 228, figured out that, our lights are being jumped on Epsilon. We can just push straight out from underneath basement and kind of catch them with their pants down, right? So they did that. Giggity Giggity Goo, who had taken quite a bit of damage on his original approach, he died. He marched all the way out into Delta 4, I think, died, but basically traded himself for Midge. Midge overrode, he killed himself, but I'm going to assume Midge isn't stupid and managed to, the only reason he wouldn't have died otherwise is, he's squeezing out those last few shots to secure the kill. And it was just a really messy fight. You kind of had 2 fights, one here and one here. Eventually, after things shook out, it was just the 2 commandos left and McGraw and a flea for SA. And it was just kind of, running around the map trying to pin each other down, and 228 trying to kind of win by caps, and SA more than trying to win, just trying not to lose.
And even more, like the biggest, probably the biggest influencer on this match was probably McGraw, though. McGraw and Unfearing just doing a great job supporting each other from their range positions. McGraw originally setting up on this point, and then Unfearing setting up around here in Theta, kind of boxing around at the top of the corner. So that way, either way you slice it, whichever way that the other team pushed, they would be able to support one another and support the team. And it allowed 228 to... it didn't allow 228 to cap, and it was actually a very good maneuver because it also forced 228 to kind of exit the basement from unfavorable positions in order to avoid not getting shot. Sorry, they did not exit there. I believe that they...
No, that you're right. You're right.
Oh, they did exit there? Okay. Yep. But yeah, they exited from there, which was kind of not the best because they wanted to get to the Epsilon cap point, which allowed Unfearing to just kind of rain hell down on this spot. And meanwhile, you had McGraw kind of rotate around a bit on these walls to get better shots into this area. The Mauler for Smoke Adders kind of died at this point, but even still, the work he did was already kind of done, and 228 was already taking way too much damage.
Yeah, given where Midge died, that's probably the best place he could have been, with McGraw up above him, Unfearing kind of managing to kite, back out and around up top to Theta, where he eventually got jumped by the commandos. It's probably about where you'd want that Mauler, Ideally, maybe, the Mauler's actually out in this door, but there's only so much you can do. But yeah, very good job. And one thing, too, is eventually we did see Invictus kind of just get stuck in his Annihilator. I believe there's like a box right here. He was just stuck because, he had Unfearing up on Theta and McGraw out here, and Invictus couldn't really do anything. He peeks either corner. He doesn't really have the range to trade from there against, a large laser Enforcer or a large laser Grasshopper, and if Invictus had managed to be able to get back under Theta with a weapon or two, that could have swayed the match easily in their favor.
Yep, and it was super close, but also the fact that McGraw was able to conserve his mech really well also helped pay dividends in the game. So I guess, him being more of the range trader type definitely paid very well for Smoke Adders in this match. But now we are ready to go. Grim Plexus to Zip Smoke Adders. Both teams playing very, very well tonight. However, just some players playing a little better than others. Got to give a prop to Unfear. He is on fire right now, leading both drops in damage, match score, making his presence known. And man, with him and McGraw playing the way they are, Seabiscuit and his team definitely has an uphill battle to fight right now. But they can definitely do it. They've come back from worse odds before, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do now. They have to win this match. It's do or die. If they don't, then they lose, and they drop into the lower ends of the brackets.
Yeah, yeah. Now, granted, it's round robin, so you can always climb your way back up after a loss, but you definitely don't want to lose, week or round 2 out of, what is it, 6, I believe. But we'll see what happens. It does seem like 228 needs to make a more concerted effort to deal with Unfearing and McGraw. It seems like McGraw, just kind of by virtue of being up on the wall these last 2 matches, and Unfearing by where he's positioned himself, they've just been able to do far too much work and with the amount of tonnage they've been given. Anyways, what do you see on the battlefield?
What I see on the battlefield is Roughneck 2As with 3 UAC 5s, Mige and Judas, both bringing extra DACA to this matchup right now. McGraw bringing the Wolfhound 2, very interesting. McGraw has never actually been that much of a hardcore light pilot, but when he's asked to play lights, he can play lights, and he can play them very well, which is very interesting that we're not seeing good tri-play right now. He's normally performed pretty well in lights for SA's team, but even still, Kevster 128, Warhammer 6D, rocking 5 ER large lasers, Madcat 3050, and the Flea 15. ER medium lasers, Unfearing in the Warhammer 6R as well, also bringing his trademark ER PPC Gauss rifle build, and you really cannot fault him. That build has been doing so much work this drop. Meanwhile, 228 IBR bringing 3 Black Knight 7Ls, all with a mix of medium and large lasers. Then we got Draven Cult and Javelin 11A, 7 medium lasers. That mech definitely hurts, especially considering light mechs nowadays. Seabiscuit following him with 7 ER medium lasers as well. Definitely a lot of poke. That mech's going to be super hot, however. And not Seneschal, my bad. Foxy Short Bus, 5 medium pulse lasers, and his Vulcan 5T.
Yeah.
So the cap points have just went out right now, and it looks like that Smoke Adders is setting up on everyone's favorite hill on Grim Plexus, overwatching the middle points of the map. But even still, looks like 228 is not going to oblige them with any sort of fight. Their mechs are kind of on the outer perimeter, pushing around the Epsilon point. It looks like that they're going to go for Sigma. Might be trying a similar strategy to what we saw Mercstar's B team, Mercstar Crawdads, perform last week in their first round match.
Just ignoring Kappa fighting over Sigma and Gamma. It does look like these Javelins are going to get Sigma for free. I wonder where the Black Knights will go. They don't really have the range to trade, with that hill from the back of Epsilon here, but it'll be interesting to see where they try and position themselves, because they're not fast mechs, so it's going to be hard for them to react one way or the other very quickly. But I'd almost like to see them more on the other side of this ridge, just where they're protected from kind of the Theta Hamburger Hill or whatever, and they can easily pretty much swing back between Sigma and Gamma and work their large lasers.
And right now, 228 has kind of gotten a hint that with the speed of Sigma being capped, that is a lot of mech presence on Sigma. They really don't want any part of that, and Smoke Adders wisely bowing out of that engagement. Madcat 3050 being a little bit more aggressive than McGraw, but both of them are opting to pull out of that region. Meanwhile, we have Kevster, Captain Judas, and Unfearing kind of moving up towards the pat down off Hamburger Hill, I guess as you called it, trying to get some range trades dropped on 228.
Yeah, those Black Knights are
position.
They're regular large lasers, right? Not ER larges, so they don't really want to be trading at this. Seneschal taking a bit of damage as he crosses over here.
You are correct, and they aren't trading. The Black Knight 7Ls really weren't firing back, probably because they knew the futility of trying to fire back. The Black Knight 7Ls are just trying to move up to the Sigma point to help secure it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have Smoke Adder's lighter mechs, McGraw and Mad Cat, just kind of hovering around that Sigma point, putting up a perimeter defense, kind of keeping their presence around, and it looks like that they might be expecting Smoke Adders to almost make a push of some sort. But right now, Smoke Adders just seems to be non-committal to any sort of movement on Sigma.
Yeah, I feel like if I were Smoke Adders, you've seen all the Black Knights come over here. It's gonna take the Black Knights forever to reposition if they don't want to cross out and theta. I'd just send my heavier mechs back up to the top of the hill and swing my lights wide around to Gamma, maybe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. That would be a very solid movement. And right now, the Javelin 11As are trying to use their ER mediums to try and get any scratch damage they can on the Flea and the Wolfhound as they exit. But Smoke Adders, they seem to be holding this area at Sigma almost as if they have map control. But the truth is they don't. Sigma and Gamma are not in their control. And while we've seen this before where Smoke Adders kind of controls the position, but not necessarily the cap, the truth is that after abandoning the hills and kind of setting up within these frozen rivers in Grim Plexus, that they abandoned any high points and really can't keep tabs on 228. Meanwhile, 228 is wisely seesawing between Sigma and Gamma, although on the cross from Sigma to Gamma around the northern point of Epsilon, they do take some scratch damage, although this time it looks like they aren't going to.
Yeah, they've padded a little better this time, using the hill for cover, and SA's also moved kind of down further into the valley, so they don't have the same lines either. SA, though, headed towards Epsilon, they might try and come around towards Gamma and then just be surprised by the number of Black Knights that have managed to cross in front of them.
While 228 is going to have the more outstanding, I guess the word could be said, the more powerful DPS, the larger DPS numbers in this match with those Black Knights. Smoke Adder's team does look like that they very well could outnumber this contingent. They're missing the two lights. Captain Judas and his Roughneck 2A looks like he's going to patrol for them. I think SA knows that something's up and that the body split. Looks like that Captain Judas may have actually seen the lights, yeah, and it looks like that 228 is responding to that very same scout call by bringing their Black Knights back. They might be trying to pick Captain Judas. He's in a very precarious spot if he doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know that he knows that the Black Knights are there either. He could easily get like one shot from the back if those Black Knights kind of coordinate a little bit and time it.
He has no clue what's happening. Oh my goodness, these Black Knights could come right here and backcore him immediately, and it's happening. Look at him, Captain Judas getting jumped on by Black Knights, 83%. Big alphas coming down from these Black Knights. Terrible situation that Captain Judas ended up in, and dead. Instant pick. Very well done by Black Knight, by 228 on the push, and they're up one mech. But at the same time, we've seen this story before. This is exactly what happened in Drop 1, and 228 got a bit overzealous, and it looks like that's kind of what's happening now. Invictus, Giggity Goo, they're pushing up a little too far. Invictus is taking a lot of damage on the cross. Giggity Goo trying to push up. They need to get fire on either Mige or Kepster. Both those mechs are weak. Draven Cult, Giggity Goo are starting to go in. McGraw's coming back with the light mech to try and provide some support. Invictus, however, drops from very well placed long range fire from Unfearing. However, Kevster looks like he's going to fall next. Draven Cult and Giggity Goo both jumping on Kevster. He's down 56%, and it looks like that it might be his ending days right there. Seabiscuit finishes the kill. Very well done on him. Kevster's going to drop as well. And McGraw and Mad Cat are isolated, and there's really not much Unfearing can do about it. The way that these fights are evolving, the Javelins are really the only ones exposing themselves. However, Seneschal's starting to run up the top. He wants to take care of Unfearing right now. That's going to be an interesting, almost 1v1 situation, and McGraw is trying to do everything he can to pull the game back, but I think there's just way too many mechs on 228's side, and many of them are also pretty healthy. Giggity Goo is the only mech on 228's side that's under 70%, and I think we can comfortably say that this match may belong to 228, and their chance of pulling this match back has been salvaged.
Yeah, 228 though, they need to get on Unfearing quick. He can still put out a lot of damage in that Warhammer because he's not going to get heat capped with those dual Gauss rifles quite like these Black Knights are. Yeah, he'll have to stop firing the PPC so much, but he's definitely a big threat that 228 needs to be aware of.
Although I am loving this rotation, I love the way 228's mechs are moving. They're moving in ways that cause it so that one mech isn't really too much exposed. When the Black Knights are crossing, the lights kind of poke to give their mechs a little bit of reprieve.
Draven Cult,
Fearing and Mad Cat are trying to jump on Draven Cult to finish him, and he's legged and dead. But that sacrifice may not necessarily be in vain. Foxy Shortbus and Shenisol are both on Fearing. They need to ignore Mad Cat. Well, not ignore him, but just be less wary about him and finish off on Fearing to get him down. He he has to drop. And looking at the percentages, 71% right now on Fearing, down 62%. It looks like he's going to drop right now, actually. That is, his mech's taking a load of pain. And even if he doesn't drop, it looks like he's running out of Gauss rifles. He's starting to miss the shots. And on Fearing might...
Mad Cat could pull this off, though. They've killed Seneschal, and Foxy is legged. So yeah, Foxy's legged. They just won that 2v2. And Seabiscuit is just now showing up along with a very, very hurt Giggity Giggity Goo. So this could still go back in SA's favor.
Mad Cat has to be very careful. You could be right. It looks like that they were a bit too aggressive on that push. They definitely could have used Giggity to kind of come up on the cross and provide a little extra fire. Maybe they should have been more patient, but they smelled blood in the water. And Unfearing is down 48%, but it's worth noting that Unfearing is pretty much out of weapons except an ERPPC. So now the game is on Mad Cat.
And Mad Cat is legged. Mad Cat just got legged too, so it might do for Seabiscuit to just go grab all 3 caps and then... You know, if he can pick these mechs apart from the sides, you know, wait till they have to step on a point, because they're going to have to split if they want to win this on caps now that a Mad Cat is legged.
Exactly, and right now it's a pretty interesting match going on at the moment. Sigma, Gamma, Seabiscuit's full capping those points. He should probably be going for Kappa, but even still, it's just a very interesting situation right now. You know, I believe that Matt Unfearing is out of ammo. Yep, all he is an ERPPC, so it's pretty much on Mad Cat. And looking at the situation of his flea, he is legged. That leg is orange, and his center torso is dark orange internals. So definitely not a good situation for him. One rear shot can pretty much finish him.
Yeah, Seabiscuit is quite fresh. You know, he's orange armor one leg, red armor the other, and otherwise, you know, pretty much golden. 69%. He's done a good job of spreading that damage out. Mad Cat, I don't know. Mad Cat's okay. It's going to be a little bit difficult, I think, if he shields well for Seabiscuit to get him without, you know, too much pain. But we'll see. I'm just spectating right now. I'm not gonna bother doing any camera work. I'll just see what Seabiscuit sees and see what happens when he approaches Sigma. That Mad Cat has been making his way towards that point, so...
And right now it seems like it's just going to be a bit of a slower cap game. Seabiscuit, I don't know what he's doing. I guess he's just trying to hold on to the 2 cap. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad choice. They definitely have the advantage. And Mad Cat is just limping over to Sigma to try and cap it back. Meanwhile, Unfearing is going to full cap Kappa. I can't agree with this. When the caps are down, you got to go and get Gamma, dude. Like, this is a very questionable maneuver by Smoke Adders, and it almost feels like that they're kind of throwing the game away a little bit with this, since they really can't gain anything from Kappa. That's their cap point. We have Seabiscuit right
Kappa
here.
Kappa is not their cap point.
Wait,
or is it?
Yeah, Smoke Adders is red, Kappa's red, unless I'm missing something.
Okay. I must be wrong. It might be bugged on your UI. It shows it as blue on my UI.
Oh, okay, then I guess it is bugged on my UI. Okay, well, then there we go. All right, fair enough. My UI's bugged. That's great. Mad Cat 3050, 61% right now. We have Seabiscuit poking him down in the javelin. Seabiscuit needs to be very careful dealing with Mad Cat. If he gets legged, then he's going to be in big trouble. But Seabiscuit seems to be playing this very intelligently. Still, he can't really waste too much time.
Maybe
meanwhile,
maybe he figures the Warhammer is an easier target. Maybe he'll just go try and kill Unfearing. Looks like that's...
Well, right now it looks like Unfearing is just sitting around Kappa. He's not capping it. Toast, are you sure that Kappa isn't theirs already?
It must be theirs already. It must be bugged on mine.
Oh, it's bugged on yours. Okay, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. But anyway, Seabiscuit seems to be going back to get Kappa right now at this point. I mean, finishing Unfearing could be good, but even still, tangling with an ERPPC is less dangerous than tangling with the medium lasers of Mad Cat. But even still, like, this is a lot of time flying off the board, and this is time that could have been spent trying to make things a bit more decisive in fighting Mad Cat. I guess Seabiscuit wasn't confident that he could knock him out quickly, so instead he's going for Unfearing. This is definitely the safer play, and could be the play that wins them the game.
Yeah, it's going to be tighter on time, but he does have to get that kill quickly. Although based on what I know about that Warhammer, oh, actually no, it can't. It can't be XL. I don't think he has the slots to XL it. So yeah, he's probably light engine. So if he can crit out the right side torso, he should be able to get that PPC pretty easily.
New target acquired.
And as said, Unfearing only has an ERPPC left. And right now, there he is on the point trying to lay down his shots. Unfearing missing the shots when it counts. Oh no, Unfearing! And Seabiscuit is just right now trying to cap the point to lure the poor Warhammer in. And there's really nothing Mad Cat can do about this. He's just got to hope and pray that Unfearing can win this match himself. Seabiscuit, love his attempt over here. Capping Kappa first to try and ease the match down. Look at Unfearing, though. Caps the point with 1 tick left. Seabiscuit needs to finish Unfearing now. This cap is not going to swing, and he's going to lose his team the game if he doesn't kill him.
I think you just gotta man up and accept that if he has Gauss ammo, this is gonna be really hard to fight.
There we go. I think Seabiscuit now knows that Unfearing only has the PPC. He is out of Gauss ammo, and that one bluff from Unfearing was pretty much what was keeping him alive on this point, and I think this will swing to 228 death from above after this. Seabiscuit, however, needs to kill him a lot quicker than that. Land your shot, Seabiscuit. Finish him off. That is a lot of structure that he has to eat through, of course. The Warhammer is a pretty tanky mech, but Cherry Red Center Torso. Unfearing staying alive on the point for dear life, and this is going to swing to 228's way.
GG's 228. Seabiscuit cutting it close there, but manages to clutch it in the end. So good on him for that.
Exactly. Very close match by 228. Once again, coming down to the wire, playing for caps, and they stay alive. Decision 2-1 in favor of 228. I love the strategy that they were running. They saw that Captain Judas was getting a bit too aggressive on the poke. They saw that Smoke Adders as a team was getting too aggressive trying to get down the lights of Sigma. And then they just went behind him and had their way with them.
Yeah,
looking at
poor Captain Judas.
Yeah, definitely. Poor anyone that gets into that situation. I can't count how many games are won and lost by players getting picked a bit too early. Looking at the damages, Smoke Adders, Unfearing, unfortunately not doing much in that Wolfhound 2. 188 damage. Captain Judas, 100 damage. Poor guy just got wrecked in his rear. Kevster, 269 damage in his Warhammer. Unfearing, 472. Once again, leading the way in Smoke Adder for damage. Mad Cat, however, the real MVP, almost single-handedly won the game in his Flea 15, 455 damage. Meanwhile, on the other side of 228, Giggity Goo, 512 damage, very well played. He was doing a lot of damage, even despite the fact that he was one of the first Black Knights taking a load of damage. Senestool, 447, Foxy Shortbus, 283 in his Vulcan, Invictus, 211, Draven Colt, 292 in his Javelin, and Seabiscuit, the man who won 228 the match, 250 with I believe a kill. Very, very, very well played. Excellent match from both teams. And now we're heading 2-1, and 228 has a chance to bring this back, and they're going to be carrying their momentum into this next drop.
Yeah, that was a crazy match. 2 crazy matches right in a row, coming down to the wire. I think, 228, good on them for getting that pick on Captain Judas and kind of following through with it. But they got a little bit too antsy once they had the numbers advantage, and they almost allowed Mad Cat and Unfearing to bring it back just by kind of filtering in 1 or 2 at a time. First it was Draven that got picked, being a little too aggressive in his light, way ahead of his teammates. Then, it was just a 2v2 fight, and as hurt as those SAMX were, just the amount of pinpoint that Unfearing had, they were able to bring it back, and it's like, well, you don't want to focus on the Flea, but Seneschal paid the price for that. Got legged and then shot in the back by Mad Cat. Overall, very good play from both teams.
And looking at the map strat, you want to lead us into that, Toast? Yeah,
so this is a quite the tale on this match. So you saw 228 do what Merc Star Crawdads did almost exactly. They sent their lights, they grabbed Gamma, their lights went all the way over to Sigma eventually, right? Black Knights kind of came in tow. They actually cut over Epsilon, which I think was a little bit dangerous. I don't think you need to worry about giving off your positioning by taking that slightly faster route. I think you'd just be better off following the lights all the way around down the 10 line. SA took up like kind of the usual map control positions, but this is only 3 cap, right? So you can only, sure that Hill controls Kappa, but it doesn't really give the best lines on Sigma. You know, the lights, all they have to do is step over onto this corner and you can no longer cover that from F6. The 228 or SA, they kind of moved up F9. Captain Judas was a little bit, maybe a little bit too aggressive on his own, poking around. In the meantime, 228 had rotated their Black Knights. They'd started to go all the way back to Gamma where the SA lights were, but they realized that SA had a mech and Echo 9, doubled back, just annihilated Captain Judas. There was no hope for him, and then brought the fight straight back up over Epsilon. They did a pretty good job, you know, swinging things in their favor quick, but Unfearing was left for the longest time, kind of as he's been the entire night, kind of left alone on this hill up here, and it was just laying down the fire. He ran out of Gauss for rifle ammo. If he had like a ton more, might have been able to win that. He probably could have killed Seabiscuit on Kappa if he did have that ammo.
But unfortunately, he did not, and that was what was decided the game from the extremely decisive fight around that Echo 7, Echo 6 area, where I believe Smoke Adders, whether it was Mad Cat, whether it was Unfearing, they managed to bring down one of the Black Knights from 228th in this area with a very well placed back shots to kind of even the game out. Since when I looked at the percentages before he died, it was only at 60% before he died. So that's a lot of tonnage that was gone for a bit, which kind of set the stage for 228th almost losing that match. I mean, I understand you got to push, but you still have to torso twist and you still have to watch yourself on that match. And I think what Smoke Adders was doing, which is something that I really don't think I could agree with in that situation, it might have been best to kind of just keep capping or try and find another point to cap, was that they basically had Mad Cat and Unfearing guard the Kappa and Sigma points, as you stated, and hope that one or the other could beat the light. They didn't want to just chase him around the map because they figured that would be futile, and I would normally agree, but the thing is that you had to try and find a way to potentially lay a trap and risk it. Playing it that way kind of guaranteed that they would lose the match, since entrusting Unfearing at Kappa with just a PPC with only 40% health against a Javelin that still had all its weapons, still had a pretty decent amount of armor. It's a death sentence. It doesn't matter how good of a shot you are, so long as the pilot knows that he's piloting a mech, knows that his left click is the shot key, and knows that W, A, S, and D move his mech around, that Warhammer is going to lose every single time. And it was all catapulted by the fact that Judas just got way too aggressive on this poke at Echo 9, which allowed the Black Knights to essentially come into the rear and have their way with them. Yeah. And afterwards, the Black Knights were kind of being a little skittish around this Fox 9 corner pushing, but eventually one of the Black Knights, I believe it was Giggity Giggity Goose, said, you know what, team, forget this. We have to get into them. We need to ensure this game's won, which is very risky since that's what lost them drop one, but it turned out that it worked anyway. And then you had Unfearing kind of poking from the hills over here, Fox 8 and Golf 8 trying to lay down some damage, but the brawl just kind of fell apart because 228th managed to just get in there and use their 5 mech advantage to finish the game. Also, it's worth knowing that Smoke Adders, their initial beginning movements kind of cost them a little bit in the cap game. They all kind of set out around Echo 7, Echo 8. They really didn't move their lights around to try and take back Gamma or Sigma. They really didn't try and do any movement to stop this seesaw maneuver from 228th on this side on the 10 line. So they kind of set themselves up a little bit in the beginning, unfortunately. The fact that they were respecting points, the fact that they weren't respecting caps in the other 2 drops, and it kind of helped them win. But the thing is that HPG Manifold is a much smaller, well, not much, but it definitely is a smaller map than Grim Plexus. And if you're not paying attention and doing whatever you can to get that cap lead, it's going to cost you. And it did cost them because they had to entrust 2 damaged mechs that really couldn't win a 1v1 at all on 2 separate points, thinking that would help win them the match, when in fact it really didn't. It just allowed the Javelin to choose whichever fight it wanted to, take that fight, and then cap the point for the victory.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you bring up some valid points. Maybe trying to set a trap would have been a better idea, but at the same time, I can see their logic between, one of our pilots has to win this fight, at least by, separating your mechs. You guarantee that there will be a fight. If you send both of your guys to Sigma and then he goes to Kappa or vice versa, then it's just over regardless. you don't have time to go one place and then try and catch them move into another. Not when you have a Warhammer and a legged light.
And you know what? I can kind of understand the logic there, but once again, I'm gonna have to agree to disagree because either way you look at it, that match was a loss because neither of those mechs are going to win the 1v1. The closest one that could win the 1v1 was Mad Cat, but Mad Cat is a legged flea. You're not going to be able to get much done, especially against a Javelin that still has a lot of armor, whose legs aren't really open yet. So it's like you kind of have to make something happen. At least in my mind, it felt like that Smoke Adders kind of went the safer route, hoping that time would expire. But it felt like that maybe they should have tried to send the Warhammer to get a 3 cap and then set up with a 2 cap. That might have bought them a bit more time, although it looked like that's what Seabiscuit was actually trying to protect against at first. But even still, the fact that they didn't even try signals to me that they were just hoping that, Seabiscuit was going to make a mistake. And when you rely on your opponents making a mistake rather than your team just setting up well and having a well-established game at the beginning, then you set yourself up for failure.
Yeah. Oh well, now on to see, can 228 do the reverse sweep? Both teams are locked, going back to Grim Plexus. Now we're just trading sides. We'll see if 228 seems like people are overvaluing that like hill position on this map, especially on 3 cap, when the teams that have done better on this map have been the ones that try to control the area around FC and behind FC and come prepared for that.
Exactly. And Hamburger Hill is a very strong position when the 5 cap is initiated because you can kind of cut Theta and Epsilon. That's why people love that hill. But it feels like that these lower division teams are kind of lost on that, and they're forgetting other areas around the map that can help establish map control. For instance, the buildings around Epsilon might actually offer better coverage since you can kind of get lines on mechs that come in and out of Sigma and Gamma, or perhaps you can move around the refinery areas around Theta. Hamburger Hill is definitely very strong still because you can get good coverage on Kappa and Sigma and at least get some view on any mechs that are heading out of Gamma, but at the same time the hills kind of prevent you from establishing very strong firing lines. But even still, you got to stick with what you know, and that's what these teams are kind of, I guess, their maxim is right now, except for 228. And 228 has been doing some very experimental stuff right now, and sometimes it's paying off, other times it didn't. The first 2 drops it didn't. This drop it seems like it is, and let's see if they've done anything interesting right now. Looks like they went a little bit more conventional this time. Grasshopper, 5 Ps, 6 medium lasers, 2 large lasers for Invictus. That's a very interesting build, maxing out on mediums instead of maxing out on the larges. Seneschals, 6 medium lasers, 2 large lasers again, and Giggity Goo, I'm willing to bet, is it the same? 3 large lasers, 4 medium lasers. So the Grasshoppers went more medium than large. That's a very interesting choice.
We saw Mercstar do that again, so I don't know. It didn't work for Mercstar, it didn't seem. But
oh no, it wasn't Mercstar that did that. That was 228 Death from Below that did that. Okay. I remember that well. That was Morticia, Malin, and their team that was doing it. And you're right, it really didn't work out that well. Meanwhile, Draven Cult, Seabiscuit running Vulcan 5Ts. Those are going to be the makeshift lights. Backshot coming back into the game. Wolfhound 2. And let's see what he can do. Him, Seabiscuit, Draven Cult, they've done some very good work as light mech so far. Might be able to pull it out again. And meanwhile, we're seeing Smoke Adders, Bushwhacker P2, bringing ER medium lasers, heavy Gauss rifles, the Warhammers on Unfearing. He's bringing the signature. Oh, he's not, actually. He's bringing ER large lasers this time. I guess this is serious business going for him. Mad Cat 3050, Wolfhound 2, medium pulse lasers, Mage, Jaeger Mech, double Ds, 5 ACTs. Let's hope he doesn't get double Ds in this match. And Donnie Line Z with the Wolfhound 1.
Yeah. T28 wrapping around. They've got their lights on Theta. And meanwhile, like ships passing in the night, Mad Cat and Donnie Line Z pass on the other side of the map down the 10 line to go towards Sigma. But 228 did drop a UAV, so they may get spotted if they try and continue around. Unfearing already taking a shot from these 228 lights. He's just rolling up in there. I'm a little confused why he's going in there after getting shot by medium pulses.
I'm pretty sure that he might think that this hasn't been scouted, or he might think that there's not much there. And Unfearing looks like he might be in huge trouble right now. The rest of the team is completely drawing on him. Unfearing down 67%. Unfearing, what are you doing, dude? You were completely out of position. 50%, 47%. The Wolfhounds are getting on him. Easy kill from 228, setting the tempo once again. However, that was not without a price. Seneschal taking a lot of damage on the cross from the Bushwhackers and the Roughnecks. Captain Judas eats a lot of damage from the strikes. Look at that, 77% drop from Fresh. And now, once again, Smoke Adders is on the back foot from another pick. What is going on with this team?
Yeah, Donnie Lion getting real aggressive there in his Wolfhound. He needs to back out. He's way outnumbered. I know he wants to be close and knife fighting with that Wolfhound, but his team's not up there to back him up, really.
Look at that strike, though. That strike dropped on Giggity, dropped him down from 80 to 52%. Devastating strike. That is not something that 228 needed with all this momentum hitting them, with all this momentum on their side. And right now, it looks like that Smoke Adders has kind of recovered, although McGraw ate a nasty airstrike from one of the 228 mechs. And Invictus is foolishly, well, maybe foolishly, maybe not, but it definitely feels like it's foolishness right now. Grasshopper 5P goes down, gets caught in the crossfire of Smoke Adders, and it seems like it's a question of who can throw the hardest right now. This is not going well. One team's mech's throwing, another team's mech's throwing. Teams are just diving into the brawl unnecessarily when they don't need to, and 228 is now throwing in what was a perfectly good advantage. They're still up on percentages, but these percentages are much closer than what they used to be. Seneschal down 15%. Look at the way he's tanking. Draven Colt finishes off Captain Judas. Strikes are still getting dropped. McGraw once again eating it, going down from 60% to 40%. Mad Cat kills Donnie Line C, and Mad Cat also kills Seneschal in a strike. Oh my goodness, strikes are just dropping like crazy. The throws and
meanwhile, Midge is just sitting in the back with his Jägermech, just farming with those AC2s, but is it gonna be enough? Mad Cat needs to probably get to where he can be covered. Mad Cat gets legged, but takes that back shot.
So far, it might be. I mean, Mad Cat is legged, but Midge still has some distance on him. Draven Cult might be waiting for his team. Vulcan is very much beat up. It says 72%, but all that damage is center torso, and a Vulcan center torso is not necessarily that hard to shoot. Meanwhile, it looks like the rest of 228 is now jumping on Midge. He's not going to be able to pull out of this. Jaeger mechs are very fragile mechs. He may not have gotten double Ds, but that double D certainly did not do much to help them win the game.
Is he out of ammo? He might be out of ammo. I want to see.
Very well could be. He was shooting for the entire game, just tossing AC2s out there, firing.
Yeah, he's out of ammo, so he couldn't have clutched it if he wanted to, unfortunately.
Pretty much. That turned into a nasty brawl that was predicated on unfearing. Once again, throwing very hard, throwing harder than the Houston Rockets in the finals. Oh my goodness, look at this. Just absolutely terrible. And actually, that might have been a harder throw than the Atlanta Falcons versus the New England Patriots, for anybody that knows their American sports ball. Just Smoke Adders allowing 228 back into this game by some poor positioning. The strike game, however, definitely favored Smoke Adders, but it wasn't enough to bring them back 2-2, and 228 have a chance to win this.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was up with Unfearing there. Did he disconnect or something? Did he have bad ping? It seemed like he just AFK'd or something for a minute there, and definitely paid the price for it. Just way out of position at the start of the fight, and that's 70 tons, almost a quarter of your allowance for this match, just gone. Poof.
That was just rough.
Yeah, there was some throwing going on, but it was throwing back and forth.
Yeah, right now I think 228 and Smoke Adders need their own show, Game of Throws, and I think right now Unfearing would be John Throw at this moment for this match. He's been playing very well, but that was not something that you want to do. Right now it just feels like that a Smoke Adder mech gets picked, and then the gods toss the coin up and see whether or not this is going to equal a victory and a defeat, and it's just starting to go very poorly. The drop is happening very real for Smoke Adders. They very well trying to bring it back, but it just was not enough. Yeah. And once again, 228 is in a position to win this. Striking distance, Draven Colt 580 damage with his Vulcan 5T, Seabiscuit 414, Giggity Goo 519. Very, very strong team effort. Meanwhile, Midge almost 1,000 damage in the Jaeger mech double Ds.
Yeah, man.
He almost did 2 times 2 for the double Ds. Oh my goodness. Almost reached 4 digits, but it just wasn't enough. Meanwhile, McGraw 570 trying to bring it back in the Bushwhacker to no avail. Unfearing 174. What are you doing, man? Meanwhile, Donnie Line Z 242, Captain Judas 281. The rest of Smoke Adders tried to pull the game back, but it just was not happening. Although strike hell, that's for sure. All we saw was red smoke after red smoke, explosion after explosion. It was a scene reminiscent from, my goodness, maybe movies like Wonder Woman, perhaps, where she's crossing the trenches and it's German artillery firing on her. But like Wonder Woman, 228 did not shrink from their responsibilities. They went in and they got the W.
Yeah, sometimes they went in a little too hard. I think it was, who was it, Invictus? you just saw flying across the battlefield in his grasshopper into the crossfire of SA. But
I,
anyways, head over to the map strat. This is this is an amusing match. I'll give it that.
This is definitely a map that didn't necessarily need a map strat per se, since it was basically a very dicey brawl. But yeah, that was just really nasty. Smoke Adders has been giving up an early pick the entire series. If they want to win this, they have to stop.
Yeah,
All right, just
please.
stop getting picked, please.
You need to pay a little more attention to your scouting. Be a little more cagey when you don't have any scouting. Captain Judas got picked the other time because his lights were off capping. They didn't really have any good idea where the 228 mechs were this time, and same thing happened again. If your lights are running around F10 to go up to Sigma, they don't see anything on Sigma or anywhere. You gotta you gotta be willing to bet that there's a 228 mech on the other side of the hill from you, 500 yards away, ready to brawl you down.
And you know what? This is exactly why stats are deceptive, because Smoke Adders is a great team, but they just keep getting picked. And it also kind of helps inflate the damage of the other players on that team. They're trying to make up for it by doing all this damage, and it's just not happening. And Smoke Adders is just throwing these 2 games away. They've thrown the last 2 games away by costly picks. Just Smoke Adders, stop getting picked.
Yeah.
Just stop getting picked. It's just that simple. Be in position. I'm starting to get a little annoyed about this. I can't imagine how Smoke Adders feels about this situation. I mean, hopefully they're playing as a team and sticking together, but just come on. Stop getting picked. Anyway, we're moving on to Canyon Network. Drop 5. Yeah, I mean...
On to Canyon. Will SA, they had the 2-0 lead, but now it's 2-2. And 228's showing that, we're going to do our best to bring this back in our favor. Been a really good match so far. Looking at the kills, it's 19 kills for Smoke Adders to 17 from DFA. So outside that first match, which ended up pretty much, I would say, in a fair bit of a stomping with those Uziels getting slaughtered. 228s, they've been putting up a good fight. Even the matches since then that 228 lost. The one match they lost, it was incredibly close. So SA needs to figure something out, kind of calm their nerves, do something, play a little bit more careful with their mechs, their positioning, be more worried about getting jumped because it keeps happening. You got to do something about it. If it's you get picked, you have one guy picked one match, that's fine. But if it's 3 or 4 drops out of 5 a night and it keeps happening, you're obviously not doing something right. You need to have your lights do maybe a little bit better job of scouting. I think maybe this is them paying a little bit too much attention almost to caps early on. Early on, you probably want to, you can wait a little bit, especially with these rolls, 3 cap, 20 minutes. You can wait a little bit before worrying about sending your lights off to be fully committed to the cap game.
Well, even still, it just wasn't necessarily a situation with the lights. It just felt like certain units of Smoke Adders, they kind of lost track of where the team was, and they started attacking 228 too aggressively. And it just comes down to the fact that, once again, you kind of touched on it, Toast. Poor scouting. It's just incredible how, Smoke Adders are missing small details, or just taking all these situations that they really shouldn't be taking, fighting all these battles that they shouldn't be fighting, putting their mechs in positions that they should not be put in, which is very interesting because so far throughout this game, Smoke Adders has shown some incredibly high-level play. Their shots have been hitting constantly. We had said before, Unfearing was on fire. A lot of people from this team, Smoke Adders, they were playing very well in the first 2 drops, and now 228 is taking complete advantage of their throws, taking complete advantage of the game, and now they're back in it to win it. 228's movements overall have been a bit less conventional, but they've been much more solid, much more team-oriented. And it's just incredible that we are this close now, that we're in a 2-2, despite the fact that Smoke Adders was leading the game 2-0 at the beginning and very well could have put the death blow into 228 on that final match. And now we'll see how it comes down to here. Canyon Network Conquest. This match is completely up for grabs now. This is anyone's game. Canyon Network has been brawled on, it's been ranged on, and has definitely had some teams get surprised by others. So once again, Smoke Adders is once again going to have to watch out. They're going to have to get their lights on top of scouting, and they're going to have to pay attention, because if they get picked again, it's over.
One thing people should know too is with how this league works, if you lose to a 2-3 decision, that's the same as losing to an 0-5 decision, right? All they care about ISC is, did you have an advantage? Did you win, or did you lose overall?
Looking at the drop, some Assassin Hit Squad dropped by 228. I like this kind of deck. Gotta love the Assassin Hit Squads. It's pretty successful on Assassins. 21s and 23s, all with SRMs, I'd wager. Yes, SRM 6s with Artemis or SRM 4s. And then 2 Victor 9A1s from Invictus and Giggity Goo. Both of them with 2 heavy Gauss rifles. Well, that is interesting. I want to see this play out. Meanwhile, Smoke Adders is retaliating with their own Assassin Hit Squad, led by Donnie Line Z, Judas, and Kevster, on Fearing Victor 9A1, also with 2 heavy Gauss rifles, and Mad Cat as well, 2 heavy Gauss rifles, Mige Vulcan 5T. So these decks are actually very, very similar. They're almost identical, with the only difference being an Assassin.
Yep. A Vulcan placed by an Assassin on the side of Smoke.
And Nuclear Weapon just took a huge shot from one of the heavy Gauss rifle mechs. His right torso is already almost open. Incredible shot coming in from Smoke Adders. They want to finish this game once and for all. These Victors are completely on top of each other. Giggity Goo and Invictus. And it looks like all the rage, all the frustration of throwing all those matches has finally culminated to this. Smoke Adders is committed to this brawl push. They are committed to getting these Victor 918s down. Nuclear Weapon, 78%. And what are you seeing,
Fearing he's getting jumped on in the back by Seabix, getting Foxy short bust. It's hard to pilot that mech when you have 2 assassins, ready to crit out your Gauss rifles one shot in the back here.
And it looks like Mad Cat 3050 is trying to provide some covering fire for his buddy on Fearing. Meanwhile, however, the other 2 Victor 9A1s from 228 Death from Above have stopped getting pushed on, although Giggity Goo is in the middle of an arty strike, and he's eating it. 45% now. It's almost about to go down. Foxy Short Buzz manages to kill on Fearing. That took a very long time for a mech that was jumped by both assassins, and Seabiscuit is very hurt. On Fearing may have been down, but it was definitely took him a long time, and now Seabiscuit is down. Match is even. Brawl's very tight. Artillery strikes getting dropped. I can imagine that's a lot of team damage. Kevster kills Giggity Goo. Nuclear Weapon Hour follows up and kills Mad Cat 3050. And this match is currently hanging on by a thread. Both teams are completely even. Very nasty brawl right now. Loving the situation that's going on right now. Donnie Line Z and Kevster trying to finish off Foxy Short Bus. He's down 39%. Meanwhile, Draven Cult Nuclear Weapon trying to trade in kind by finishing Captain Judas. Invictus in the back for 228, putting down some long-range shots. Kevster finishes Foxy Short Bus. Advantage falls back to Smoke Adders,
it's even.
Right back to 228, and now it's even again. Invictus once again getting brawled down 52%. SRMs are dropping on him like crazy, and it looks like he's going to drop 42%. Strikes down Donnie Line Z. However, Invictus gets a final shot on Captain Judas before he dies. Invictus self-destruct. It's Nuclear Weapon and Draven Cult versus Donnie Line Z and Mige. Percentages are almost even too. This is a nasty fight right now. Nuclear Weapon trying to take some cover. However, he's running right into Donnie Line Z. That is not what he wants to do. Mige and Donnie Line are trying to regroup to get a kill on Nuclear Weapon. He's boosting around, but he's running away from Draven Cult, who's legged. So this is definitely not the situation he wants to go into. But Nuclear Weapon finishes off Mige. Great shot from him. And right now it's down to Nuke and Donnie Line Z. Donnie Line Z down 48%. And my goodness, I think it's his legs that are mostly messed up. Yeah, both of his legs are open. He's lost one of his SRM decks. It was crit out. Meanwhile, Draven Cult's down 40%.
Oh, Donnie Line gets legged.
And this could be the match. What a brawl. Smoke Adders went in. They tried to finish off 228. They were a little clustered, but that rear flank on Unfearing managed to pull the game back as Smoke Catters had to allocate resources to try and get Unfearing back into the game. In the end, however, it didn't work. It allowed the victors on 228 sides to recollect themselves, and it was a win for 228. Death from Above. What a comeback. And look at these damage spreads. This is very solid. Foxy Short Bus, 403 damage, 1 kill. Invictus, 488 damage, 2 kills. Nuclear Weapon, 2 kills, 278 damage. His damage was not that high because he got shot very early, took a nasty hit from one of the victors in his right torso, but managed to come back in flying colors. Meanwhile, Mige in the Vulcan 5T, 453 damage. Kevster, 386, 2 kills. Captain Judas, 379. Donnie Line Z 360. So it seemed like that the Vulcan was almost a deciding factor a little bit, but that's hard to say. It was just a very, very messy brawl. I guess the deciding factor was the fact that 228 manages to jump on Fearing, even though he still did respectable damage, 310. The fact that Smoke Adders immediately had to commit resources to bail him out caused SA to kind of take a defensive posture in the brawl and allow 228 to kind of reform their line and jump them.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm amazed. So I'm looking at the team damage here. Only single digits team damage for everyone except Draven Colt did the most team damage, 22, which for the amount of strikes and Artie that was going down in that fight, I'm amazed it wasn't higher. I would generally caution people against dropping Artie in strikes, especially when your team's brawling up into the opponent like that, but oh, they had good discipline. I guess they called it out well for their teammates, so there wasn't too much team damage going on. But overall, just crazy brawl there at the end. Almost mirrored drop decks, like you said. Just difference of 228 had 4 assassins, whereas SA only had 3 in a Vulcan.
Yeah, pretty much. It was exact same deck, exact same situation, and in the end, it evolved into a very, very nasty brawl. And T came out of it. That was a hell of a comeback, though. I mean, you can say picks suck, but the fact that T28 was in a position to take advantage of almost every single pick is incredible. And this match itself was very incredible. Both teams played their asses off and was down to the wire for most drops. Smoke Adders, they had a very, very solid strategy going into the match. They had a very, very solid idea of how they wanted to win in the beginning, and they brought, in my opinion, superior strategies for HPG. That's why they were kind of up top first. But in the end, they just the picks came back to haunt them.
Yeah, a little too many early picks going on, I think, for them to have a very good shot at winning it out. But it looks like Seabiscuit is here. I don't know. Have we heard from any of the SA folks? Will we be getting an interview from them?
Yeah, let's see if they're gonna come in real quick.
Oh, while we wait, congratulations, Seabiscuit, on your win, bringing it back from behind. Down 2-0. It's never easy to bring it back, but you guys managed to somehow, 3 games in a row against a very good SA team who's, proven their chops. But, you guys showed you've got good teamwork on your side, and you're being, I'd say, pretty innovative with your strategies, doing some weird things that you haven't really seen before, being a little more experimental, it seems, with your drop decks and some maybe more goofy strategies.
Okay, so now we got both teams here. First off, Unfearing, Seabiscuit, great games. Unfearing, some very unfortunate play from your side, that's for sure. A lot of questions going to there. But first, drop 1 and drop 2. We've seen a lot of teams kind of brawl out that drop, but what made you guys so confident in the superiority of the wall strat for that drop?
Was that the one we did the assassin? Oh, yeah.
That was drop 1 and 2. That was on HPG Manifold. You guys were on the wall. So what made you confident that the wall strat would work for that so well, even though it wasn't a 3 cap, it was it was a 3 cap, it wasn't a 5 cap. Sorry.
It's just usually you've got people that brawl or hold down low outside or turtling. So for the wall stuff, then we can, and then we have the enforcers supportive. So we just kind of built around that and then had some stuff to tank in the middle. The dragon got ganked, unfortunately, though.
About the wall strat, what was the? We've seen the response when the team hides around basement, but what would have been your response if they brought a little more range? You know, it feels like the wall mix might have been a little isolated in those fronts. What would have been Smokeatter's response to a bit more range in those strategies, or perhaps a bit more movement, a bit more mobility?
If it's like more range stuff on the wall, definitely we'd have the Enforcer laying down some cover fire as well as the Warhammer. Assassins would probably just go in there, try to get the gank on some of that range stuff, just knock them off the wall, reduce their visibility. Ideally, we're just trying to deal with the outside caps instead of worrying about the Theta stuff, because there's a lot of stuff you can set up down there. Don't want to deal with that.
And now over to Seabiscuit. It feels like that those two matches came down to deck choice. You really weren't able to have a response for the wall. I'm pretty sure that you guys probably thought of the wall during your strat planning, but what was the idea behind your deck, and what did you guys want to get done in those drops?
Well, first we didn't want to ignore the cap points, because even though this is only a 3 cap thing, we found that almost the entire 20 minutes are used up in every drop, unless it's just a straight out brawl. And I don't know, pretty much we're trying to brawl them in that first one with that just straight losing the caps if they were trying to control on us. We did catch the dragon, but we had kind of made a mistake in pushing up and pretty slowly on the poor side. So.
Also, what's the idea behind those Annihilators? Now, obviously, LBXs are strong brawling weapons, but it feels like at range, they really don't serve themselves well. So what was the thought process behind going LBXs compared to just going with standard AC2 or UAC2 Annihilators that are normally the staple?
In our testing, it's worked out fairly well. We do normally go legs in that drop, and the LBs can hit the legs on the lights pretty easy. Normally, if you kill their lights in these, then you can just win through caps, and that was kind of our strategy after drops 1 and 2. Just make sure if we didn't kill everything, we at least legged everything.
Okay, and now on fearing for your side. And first, just kudos to you. Despite everything that happened in that drop, Smokeatter was definitely laying down some very good shots. But to your point, to drop 3 now, why was Smokeatter so? Why did Smokeatter see Hamburger Hill, that main hill that's normally featured in comp on Grimplexus, as the main primary trading spot? And how come it felt like that you guys weren't in an urgent spot to take caps or establish more prominent map control?
We weren't trying to do like the cap control with the two caps on the east side. It was more of just the map coverage, because if the team's trying to duke us out, then we'll see where they are from the range, or if they're coming with the brawl stuff, we should be able to see them in the middle. And if a couple minutes elapse without any of that, then we know that the enemy team is just probably doing some sort of like wide Kappa flank, or just doing a wide Sigma flank. So just being in the middle already gives us a good area to respond from. So obviously, I think 228's original plan going into that was just hold those 2 caps in that area and bring the fight there. So once we're in the middle with the Hamburger Hill, we can kind of respond to that. And it takes time, but it's like a pretty middle of the ground area, and then we can work from there to move in. Unfortunately, we had the Roughneck get ganked.
Yeah, it seems kind of like ganks were definitely the deciding factor. Now, sorry, I have to address this. This is the low hanging fruit, and despite the ganks, you guys did play well, but these ganks definitely were a huge part as to why you guys lose. What do you feel was the reason that these mechs kept getting?
You got up there.
What did you feel was the biggest reason for these mechs getting picked?
It's a mix of, one, we didn't actually know that those Black Knights had doubled back behind there, because we'd seen them crossing, so we'd assumed they went 2 gamma, which I believe they did, but we didn't see them doubling back, so I guess no one was looking at that point. So it's a mix of info as well as everyone wanting to gank that one Vulcan, so team's just trying to get that one kill. A little bit of pugging around, but so a mix of info as well as pug mentality.
Yeah, definitely pug mentality. Got to agree there. And also, drop 4. I have to ask you as well. You and Mad Cat kind of seem to split up on the points. Now, both of you really weren't in a situation, at least in my opinion, to win that 1v1 versus Seabiscuit. His mech was a bit too healthy for that. What was the thought process behind splitting up and securing the 2 points instead of maybe swinging yourself around to get the third cap point, or maybe one of you guys trying to cap a point and then laying an ambush to turn the fight into a 2v1?
Well, we kind of did want to double down on one cap point, but we didn't know if Seabiscuit was going to just go for the other one, so we missed it. We kind of just wanted to double down on, or have one per. That way, at least we could stall the caps and hold or get one of them back, the Sigma one, and then hold the other one that we'd already had. Going for Gamma would have definitely been hugely out of the fight, and honestly, all the side caps put us out of fight, with Mad Cap being like, and me being pretty slow. But I figured he could have possibly been waiting at the Gamma, or like we'd bump into each other on the way. Given that I only had 1 ERPPC and 2 unexploded Gauss rifles, I didn't really want to risk that. So it was a little bit safer to just go off to the sides and then just wait for Seabiscuit to make his way back, and then see which one he came for, and just hope that we'd be able to delay it long enough.
And now, Seabiscuit, in your matches, it seems like you guys have abandoned all conventional ideas of map control, kind of group your mechs up, almost deathball to certain caps. What's your theory on this, and how do you feel about this kind of play going forward, and do you feel that this has been the strongest way to play these matches so
With the tonnage and that's allotted for these, we actually found that a lot of the drops were really slow as far as movement. And if they weren't slow, then it was just an all-out brawl. So we kind of wanted to be ready to deal with either. So we even toned down some of the weapon tonnage on our Black Knights to make them going a little bit faster. They're going almost 80 kph. And then really, you don't really gain anything by holding Kappa on Grim. With it being such a large map, if you're already holding those 2 points, and you know where the enemy is or know where they're going to be, you basically are benefited from deathballing, in my opinion. So that's how we kept getting ganks on like the Roughneck, for example, on drop 3. Is we saw him with the lights going down across, and then had the Black Knights wait around the corner, and just kept trying to trade with him and lure him out towards the lights even more. And the only reason we could do that is because we were staying together.
And now for drop 5. This is kind of a question for both of you on fearing. I'd like your answer first, and then Seabiscuit, I'd like your answer second. Why dual heavy Gauss Victors?
If it's any traditional brawl stuff like the thick brawlers, Shadowhawk, let's say even Hunchback or Roughneck, whatever. Most of the mediums and heavies that are traditionally used for brawling, like the Victor, can totally just straight CT those things. Obviously, it's a little bit not as good against the assassin if you're not hitting every single damn shot. But yeah, we were figuring, okay, if they have anything that's kind of thick, we should be able to take it out pretty easily. And then we just have to worry about the lights, which hopefully if we get some pot shots on their legs, then that would kind of seal the deal for them. It was interesting that we actually had mirror decks just about.
And now Seabiscuit?
It's kind of twofold. For one, it was interesting that we saw that you guys had them. We played your B team last week and used the same deck on Canyon. It was 4 assassins and 2. I think we had 1 Victor and a Stalker. Pretty much doing the same thing. But we did conclude that 2 Victors was going to be stronger for the precise pinpoint damage. And if it stalls out on Theta like it did in a couple of our scrims, where 1 team held Kappa, 1 team held Epsilon, and then you're just kind of going for position over Theta, the Victors being able to pop dart 50 damage at a time really swings those stalls out.
And the final question from me, at least, what voodoo magic did you two guys use to get almost no team damage on those strikes in drop 5? I want to know, because that was probably the most incredible statistic I've seen all day. Your mechs were literally sitting on top of each other and no team damage from any strike. Like, what god did you two pray to?
we were actually screaming, "Strike yourselves if you're about to die," and everybody just pray to God you don't die. That was our little strat as we were losing the actual brawl itself. Those strikes are the only reason we came out of.
All right, so Yahweh, i.e., Christianity God, gotcha, Seabiscuit. Unfearing for you. Was it Odin, Zeus, Ra? What gods did you pray to ensure so little team damage on you?
It was kind of like Pride the Potato God. We only had 2 main force guys, so we figured if we just kind of split off, then we wouldn't be liable to getting ganked like that, and then strikes as well. I dropped a strike on myself towards the end of my life, but then the potato gods pulled through, and our assassins and Vulcans just were not getting in on a target. They were just all flying around, so somehow they just weren't getting the kills in on the guys that were dropping strikes on themselves, I guess, but they were taking the damage from them.
Yeah, for what it's worth, Invictus did kill himself with his own strike.
Even still, he didn't get much team damage. And now, Unfearing, obviously that was a very close match. What do you feel allowed 228 to walk away with?
It's probably just like a mix of bad play as well as just like some slightly missed nuances of like the maps from our side. Like those Vulcans, we didn't see that coming in. The one where they took grasshoppers on Grimplexus, people were shooting torsos, people were trying to take out left arms and wolfhounds because all the weapons are in there. People just not thinking about, oh, we gotta shoot legs now because 1, it's grasshoppers, and 2, it's a cat map. And also on the canyon one, usually I'm doing a mix of the drop calling as well as target calling. So when I have 2 assassins on me, I can't really target call that well for the main particular. So just a lot of factors as well as just a mix of missed calls and bad shots here and there.
Well, both of you guys played absolutely exceptional. Unfearing, apart from you getting picked, you had a hell of a night tonight, sir. And Seabiscuit, good job to you. Both of you, both team leaders, played very, very well. And I wish you guys the best success. Unfearing, please, for the love of God, clean up the picks. Because you guys have a lot of talent, and you can go very far with that team if you just don't get picked.
And keep it up, 228. You guys did really well, and
I appreciate
it's only
it.
gonna get harder. But you know, Sean, you can bring things back. So good on you guys.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Thank you guys for giving us such an incredible match.
Yeah, thanks for the cast. I don't suppose Toaster had any questions. Just checking.
No, I'm good. I let Saruman handle all the questioning. He's the better speaker, anyways.
Interrogation.
Yeah. You gotta live through his interrogation, gaze into his palantir or whatever.
Okay.
But
the White Hand Inquisition, I like to call it.
Oh, okay. Well,
so shout out, by the way, to the Ismo KCOM guys. They've been helping us scrim. They've been scrimming against us, and I know they're not partaking in the event, but they've been invaluable to our success so far.
Yeah, they were spamming chat earlier. Shout out to them.
All right.
Anyways, I think that's it for us, though. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for casting. Thank you guys for putting on a great match. Any last words, Saruman?
9.
Okay, well, anyways, we'll see you guys later. There's a lot of matches tonight. I'm sure Bowser was streaming some, so if you want to go watch some VODs, you go check out his channel, Bowser1313, I think is his Twitch username. And we'll be
Bowser1313.
Yep, and we'll be here again tomorrow night with another hopefully good match. It'll be JGX or Black Omen versus White Knight Legion, so Mr. Somaru's group. We'll see how that match pans out. Should be a good one though.
And we may be around for even more.
Yeah, we'll see. There may be some more scheduled Saturday, so keep a heads up.
And for all the people on SA, don't worry. For the next cast, when I'm casting and you guys are watching, you can ruthlessly harangue me for every single mistake I make. So fair game all around.
That's why you quit comp like me. Anyways, thanks everybody for watching.
Don't tell them that.
We'll see you next time. Bye.